one of the greatest things is because we have such a normalizing of our conversations, it's like I know nearly everything about your desires, what you like, what you don't like, what like all of those things within the sexual like bedroom, that it's like because we've normalized it so much, it's like there is never anything that I'm curious about. And if it is, it's like we'll literally be working and I'll just turn to you and be like, oh, hey, what about this?
What about,
and it comes out of the blue.
And it's not weird or...
It's not awkward. It's not weird because we've talked about it. All right. Hi, friends.
Hey.
We're back for part two of the sex conversation.
It's all about the sex conversation.
What I'm excited about for this episode is that we're going to be really talking about more of like the practical sides of it and like the nitty gritty. And what I really want to just remind everyone is that we're not going to necessarily be talking about what's right and wrong, because I think what ends up happening is that it's like we get too legalistic with what's right and wrong in the bedroom. And this is more about like what are we doing that's building connection or kind of taking away from connection.
Yeah, that's really good.
And so as we're kind of going through all of these like more practical things as it pertains to the bedroom, I really want us to remember and be asking ourselves that question, like when or if we were going to explore this in the bedroom, is this leading to deeper connection, or is it leading to almost maybe like a distraction or like creating some sort of distance, or is it honoring of one another? Is it not? And so like, as we kind of talk about these things, I just want to help us just to start right off the bat with that in our minds, because
that's the goal.
Intimacy and sexual intimacy is all about building and maintaining connection within the spousal relationship.
That's the whole point.
And I think we can use some of the things inside of the bedroom to almost kind of like cause that distraction to those things. So I just want to kind of start and like pre-frame this episode with keeping those things in mind and in the forefront, because we're going to be talking about like the common questions, like how often should we? What if my libido's different than my spouse's? Is it okay to bring toys into the bedroom? Like, should
we give a disclaimer before we go into the rest?
Always.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, by the title, there should be
that's
that
true.
is a little
That's
bit
true.
of the disclaimer.
Disclaimer that we're still talking about sex and what not what it looks like, but the emotional and the realities of physical intimacy. So little ears probably is not the best, but before we went any further, let's make sure. And we also know that we're not sex therapists, we're not counselors in that realm. We're just giving experience. We're giving based off research, what we've done on our own and have experienced on our own. So all that in the beginning.
But I also think too that as we're kind of diving into this subject, no one knows the intricacies of everyone's relationship more than you do.
Yeah.
So it's like what could be healthy, and within like those like healthy bounds for one relationship might not be the same for someone else. So also remembering that comparison has no place in the bedroom.
Zero.
Because it's like what we talked about like last week is that it's like if someone was to evaluate like how often on our frequency, they would be like, ooh, they're in trouble.
Well, if you use that as a marker for health, then many could possibly say, oh, that's unhealthy. And then you go the opposite, like, oh, volume means health. And really, volume does not mean that at all.
Absolutely. And that's such an important thing, because it's like the only reason that we would say that is because we're comparing it to someone else.
Exactly.
Like for what is healthy for us is actually just good and healthy for us, because we talk a lot about sex. We have an open dialogue about it.
Yep.
I think we talk about it. I would say probably a good 5 times a week. Like we're just talking about like just random things.
Totally.
And it's like, but we're
because
not.
it's not a forbidden, awkward conversation. And I think
we've normalized it.
Exactly. We've normalized it, which makes, that's one of the very important anchors in physical, sexual intimacy, and the health of it in your relationship is communication. That's one of the biggest things that once you get to that place where you can have open dialogue about that very, very important part of your relationship, and you can talk about that, it's such a for us, in our experience, has become a very healthy and fulfilling thing, because there's no secret. There's no secrets. It's just,
Right.
This is how I feel. This is how you feel. This is how I see it. It's how you see it. It's the best.
I think one of the greatest things is because we have such a normalizing of our conversations, it's like I know nearly everything about your desires, what you like, what you don't like, what, like all of those things within the sexual like bedroom, that it's like, because we've normalized it so much, it's like there is never anything that I'm curious about. And if it is, it's like we'll literally be working and I'll just turn to you and be like, oh, hey, what about this?
What about, no.
and it comes out of the blue.
And it's not weird, or
it's not awkward. It's not weird, because we've talked about it so much. So here's some of the not crazy things, but here are the most topped Googled things as it pertains to marriage and sex. Okay. So obviously I would imagine that we would both be thinking that this would probably be the top one. Are we having enough sex? And why do I want it more than my spouse? Why am I always the one that's initiating? And how do we keep intimacy exciting? And is what we're doing normal? So it's like, I think that like basically all of these questions are really circling this like curiosity of, am I okay? Like, are we okay?
Yeah, no, that's great.
And what we're here to do is just say, these are so normal questions.
Yes.
Like, this is okay. And because you're asking the question and because you're researching it or Googling it, you're at least in the right place, because you're curious. You're curious about, is this okay? Is this healthy? Is this good? And I would say that wherever you are is good, because you can always get better. Yeah.
No, that's great. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I would add too that there are some basic principles in the bedroom that could across the board would be known as, you don't want to do that. So it's like, you don't want to disrespect your, you know what I mean? If disrespect is a normal part of your bedroom activity, well, that's not good. Like,
yes, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, there's certain principles that like that's bad. What we're saying is, what is good for us may not be good for you, but that doesn't mean it's wrong or bad. It just means what is working here for us may not be the model or pathway that you should take as you build your intimate relationship with your spouse.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like questions are normal.
Yes.
Curiosity, totally normal. Like, you know, if you are struggling, it doesn't mean that your marriage is broken by any means.
Great.
It's like most couples, like, you don't need like to hit that panic button. You just need a new perspective. And I think that that's a lot of the times of what we're looking for. We're just looking for a new perspective, because what we're feeling is we're having anxiety that what we're dealing with or what we're seeing is either broken, wrong, or like unrepairable. And we, because we're faith-based, we believe that it's like there's always a redemption plan, and there can always be a pathway to wholeness and health and restoration. So like that's where we come from. So a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, it's like we're coming from a place that if you are in a place of where it's like things feel broken or damaged or unhealthy, we're here to say that it's like, okay, that's your starting point. Let's get better.
That's good.
And let's lean into
together.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you're even listening to this podcast right now, like, is a great place to
Yep.
start.
Absolutely.
And
Because it is showing curiosity,
Mhm.
maintaining curiosity so that you can, because if you don't voice something, you can't grow it. Right. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to say it. So then now you both can look at it and go, okay, well, how can we either work that into our relationship, or how can we start to kind of let go of that part of the relationship because it's just not working. But if you don't talk about it, there's no way for you to, one, evaluate it together, or can you do anything about it, because you need to put it out there in the light. You can't keep stuff in the dark, because it's going to fester and get worse. You put it out there, then you can deal with it together. And it's actually a great connection point, which, if you've been listening, connection is really the main point of sex and intimacy, is actually the connection part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, again, that comparison piece, that can be really dangerous within marriage, because it's like you're looking at someone else's story and you're saying, but I want that chapter to be a part of my book. And it's like, nope. That's not how it works.
No, that's good.
And honestly, we also just want to encourage that, you know, like, assuming that everyone else has everything figured out, especially in the bedroom and especially, you know, in their relationship as far as it goes with intimacy, that's just not reality.
No.
Like, we have to stop assuming that everyone else has it figured out, because the reality is that maybe they're just not talking about it openly with everyone else. So the reality is that it's like there can be some complications within the bedroom.
Absolutely.
And it is one of the higher reasons of why couples get divorced. And so it's like, this is probably one of those areas that it's like, pay attention to, because there are a lot of things that are kind of involved here. So let's talk about the whole, how often is normal,
okay.
and like also mismatched libidos, right? You know, I know that we've gone through seasons of our relationship where, you know, you've either wanted it more and I haven't, or vice versa.
Yep.
And it causes a little bit of like speed bumps within our relationship, because it's like when one spouse wants it and the other one doesn't, it's like it takes a lot more effort to get on the same page.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you think about how the sexual desire and in some case need to that needs to be fulfilled, and when that isn't fulfilled, that has a great potential for very strong inner frustration that when not quenched stays around. I mean, it can be kind of lumpy inside, because there is something about the sexual tension that can really create some emotional bumps, just because it's so powerful. There is a real powerful pull when it comes to sexual desire.
Yeah, I remember when we were newly married, I remember someone saying this to me, and I do want to kind of put like a little bit of a caveat on the front of this, because it can be taken too far as well. I think that there's a place for this, and this statement helped me to kind of be a little bit more open. There was just this woman mentor that I respected, and she was just like, you know, like if your husband has a sexual need, try to be as open as you can to that, because she said it was our duty. I don't subscribe to that, because I do think that it's like there's other things involved. But she said that it's like, try your best to be as open and available so that your husband's eyes don't wander into temptation. And so it's like, I really did try to be as open and available as much. And I still think about that often, because I don't want there to be a temptation for you just because I'm not willing to like meet your needs in the bedroom. Now, the reason I hesitate to bring that up is that because it can also be weaponized.
Absolutely.
And then this other spouse can start feeling like, well, this is your duty. You owe this to me. And it's really not that. It's just when this mentor said this to me, it allowed me to be like, okay, do not use sex as a weapon. And I think that was kind of my position, was that it's like, if I wasn't sick, if I wasn't, if there was no really good reason not to, then I should at least consider being open to it.
Well, I mean, and you also think about the biblical idea of the marriage. The Bible talks about how my body's yours, your body's mine, and we should always be open to that sexual intimacy and only take a break if we both agree for times of fasting, but then come back to it. So
Right.
there is a powerful thing that happens in sexual intercourse, contact, in that relationship that truly is very powerful. And I can see how that mentor would take that particular approach because she's trying to safeguard a relationship. I get the principle.
Right.
I get the principle, and there is a part of it. Duty is such a hard word, but if we were to use duty, it's our duty. So it's not an individual's duty. So it's my duty to be available to you. It's yours to be available to me in the marriage relationship. When you're coming from a faith context, that truly is true.
Yeah.
But not in the same way of I'm going to do it so that he doesn't. That part, though in practice may result in that, I get that, but that shouldn't be the reason.
Well, and I'm glad that you touched on that, because that was one thing that I did want to also mention, is that you have a responsibility to keep yourself free from temptation.
Yeah.
That's not my responsibility by any means, but it's like you have to make sure that it's like you're being diligent in your thought process and in your mind and all of that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I think
being tempted isn't your problem.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But if I can help you not to, so that's
where you get it. Get it.
That's what I took away from it, is that if I have if there is a place that I can help in that area, I want to do that, because just as much as you would not want me to fall into temptation.
I am ready anytime you need a weapon of
whatever. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Okay, so I think one of the hard things about when one spouse wants to and the other one doesn't is that one spouse there's a potential to feel rejected.
Absolutely.
Then the other spouse is also feeling pressured. So now you have both of these spouses feeling very intense feelings.
Yeah, powerful too.
About sex. And now that wedge, and if you're not communicating,
oh my goodness,
it becomes like, it starts as a crack, and now it's like, a 5-foot crevice.
Yep.
Because what it's doing is it's just causing little seeds of resentment to be planted instead of the seeds of connection and fruitfulness and truly fulfillment that comes from it. So,
because if you're not talking about it, it could just quietly, and you're growing in this icky, in some cases, you don't even know that that's the reason why you are going sideways, is because of that, just every night or everyone just, oh my goodness, just tearing you up.
Well, we always have this joke in our relationship that when you're kind of feeling a little bit like a little more testy throughout the day,
a little curt.
You just become a little bit more short and a little bit more like impatient. And I always look at you and I go, do you need sex?
Yeah, that's true.
But
you don't know that's what it is. I mean, you just, I'm not it's hard because everybody needs to have responsibility for their behavior, for how they operate and everything like that.
Yeah, not having sex doesn't mean that you get to be a jerk.
Yeah, exactly. So, but
I'm not calling you a jerk, by the way.
Just clear that up. But it does have a powerful pull that you don't even know is happening, especially if you're one that can't control your inner feelings come out, which mine do, and how I act and my face and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a real situation.
Yeah. So really what we're trying to get to is that it's like if you are having like that mismatched desire, you just again need to normalize those conversations. And then, how often should you be having sex? That is really about the question. It should be like, how often are we feeling connected?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the first question to be asking is, are we even connecting on like a date level? Are we connecting on a conversational level? Does my spouse know about my desires and in my day-to-day life?
Yep.
Like, do they know the stresses that I'm carrying? All of those types of things. Like, are we connected? Because when we are both being seen and like feeling valued, that's when now we have that emotional connection. Now that emotional connection usually leads to a physical connection.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
No, absolutely. And I would encourage whichever spouse is the one that isn't generally emotionally available, and maybe you're the one that would like more sexual interaction. If you want more sexual connection with your spouse, begin to open up and communicate and talk, because that's going to be the pathway to getting your spouse to want more connection, or want sex, because there is connection and there's connection happening. The reality is, and we've talked about this already, is that for the bedroom interaction to be on point, that meant that everything outside of the bedroom was on point and working and making it all good. I get that there's times that sometimes it's a truly physical action, but you are connecting, whether you think about it or not, you are connecting.
Yeah.
And the importance of really opening up, and even in those conversations, staying curious, like we always say, not listen, don't fix, right? Don't be defensive, right? I always have a hard time being defensive because I'm wrong, whatever. But if you want to begin getting to a place to where your frequency lines up together, it's these conversations that's going to help, because maybe there's something that you're doing that your spouse has never told you. Like, you've done this for so long, and it just makes me separate from you and distance from you, and then you want to have sex, and but you've been doing this thing, and it's like, but you don't know any of that.
Well, and I think that one of the core things, because I think right there we're talking a little bit about like conflict resolution, because instead of saying you're doing these things that is now making me want to respond in this way or not have sex, it's like instead it could like change when you're saying, when these things are done, it makes me feel this way. And I'm now feeling, resentful, shame, or, it causes me like to not find you attractive.
Yeah.
I remember we took this one marriage course one time and we had to talk about the things that like kind of gross us out about each other.
Oh my gosh.
And it was actually really eye-opening. Like, you had like, I think one for me and I think I had one for you. And it was like every single time it's like, I think of those types of things now, because I was like, oh, for sure it's going to be like, oh, I need to shave my legs more often. But it actually, that you didn't care about that.
Nope, I don't care.
And I was like, oh, but it's like, again, talking about those types of things, like you could actually be like going in for the kiss and maybe you have really bad breath and maybe that's causing your spouse to have like that ick factor. And
it doesn't want to make you feel bad. So you don't say anything. And
exactly.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. So really what we want to do is also learning the differences in the relationship. Like what do you like respond to? And like what creates that environment? And then it's like, or do you really like it to be spontaneous?
Yeah.
And does it start like early in the morning with like, like a little like like look in the eye, or it's like the flirting throughout the day. It's like those types of things can really lead to the bedroom later. But I think that the hardest part is that it's like, usually it's just like, oh, hey, it's almost like scheduling, like who's picking up the kids tomorrow?
No,
It's
totally.
like, oh, hey, do you want to have sex tonight?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And for some people that may work. And because I know that people, because they want to, they have put a schedule in place that this time is intimate. So get there. You need to be there, and you need to,
and we've done that.
Yeah, no,
like
absolutely.
we used to have every Sunday evening. That was a time that was like scheduled in, that it was like, this was the time for sex. And it was like all the other times could be spontaneous, but it was like that particular day, it was always like, this is what we're going to do. And to where it's like, I would be able to know that I need to be mentally available for that. And one thing I do want to touch on also is that frequency without connection won't fix intimacy. So if you are having like intimacy issues, like just having more sex isn't going to cover up those things.
No, it's not.
So really kind of also finding out, like, is there certain things that you can be doing to enhance that intimacy? Because again, we both want to feel seen and valued, and connection is the ultimate goal. So when you have those mismatched libidos, like communication, finding out more about why.
Go exploring.
Yes. Get curious, not defensive, and just start asking the questions. And then also take ownership. Like, is there places in my life that I'm not creating that level of intimacy or safe space for my spouse?
Yeah.
So
I remember I remember in our own life, and you're talking about comparison, and where, friends would, be talking about the frequency of their, physical intimacy. And I remember feeling so like less than, like there's something wrong.
Right.
So I know it's a real, I know it's a real thing. And especially just think about this. If you're not in a relationship that you talk about it, and so maybe you both are walking away thinking our relationship's in trouble because we don't have sex as often as our friends do, and you're not talking about it, you just see just the poison that is just kind of laid in there, and it just stirs, and it makes me sad because we've been there. We've been to the not talk about it stuff, and we just know what that does, because we create this situation in our head that is so much bigger than it actually is. When you actually have an honest, true, real, compassionate conversation with your spouse and just kind of bring it up, not in an accusatory way, but just bring it up, it's not nearly as bad as you think it was going to be.
Right.
And it creates a connection. And then, you're trying to get to that place to normalize what's normal and good for your relationship, the DNA for your relationship. That's what's so important to get, because yours is not like others.
Yeah, absolutely. And making sure that you're creating opportunities for those conversations.
Absolutely.
And again, in a safe place. Like maybe it's on a date night, and maybe it's kind of creating like more of like an intimate experience.
Yeah.
And maybe that's your safe time to have this conversation. Or if you're super new and it's going to be really awkward, maybe like in a car ride without the kids in the car. It's like, how can you bring up the conversation without having it be weird or awkward?
Yeah, absolutely. Guaranteed.
And so some of the things that we can also do is like also like creating like new excitement within the bedroom, like also talking about like, oh, so like, what do you like? And like, how do you like it? And like taking turns initiating it, starting to flirt again. It's like bringing that level of excitement back into the bedroom, because it's like there was a time where we weren't counting the days and keeping score on how many times we were having sex
No,
because
totally.
it was just so natural
Yep.
and easy
Yep.
because it was new. And it was like, it's usually early on that
Mhm.
it's like, you know, you don't have kids, you don't have all of these stresses pulling at you, and you're just kind of like excited. You're like excited to be together. You're looking forward to having that connection
Yeah.
time. And so there's also, you know, kind of going back to the basics, like kind of try to remember back to when that excitement was there and what were the things that you were doing, you know, um, rebuild the anticipation instead of waiting for the magic just to happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Like,
No,
I
that's
think
true.
I think a lot of the times, especially like for me, it's like, I'm just like, oh, I should just naturally just want to have sex like all the time. But it's like, no, we actually have to start like rebuilding the
Mhm.
anticipation and refamiliarize ourselves with what does kind of get us going nowadays,
Yeah.
because it's like what
Because it changes.
it changes
Changes
over
over
time.
time. Yep. Because when you first get together, it's the excitement of actually having sex, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the draw. I mean, feels good. It's awesome. It's a great connection. But
Mm-hmm.
that was the main focus then. And then it
Mm-hmm.
starts to normalize that. Well, yeah, we're married. We have sex. This is what we do. And
Mm-hmm.
then you really have to start working on. Okay, sex isn't just sex. What's
Yeah.
happening is a moment. There's connection. It's a you becoming.
One.
It's unity happening
Mm-hmm.
in its actual physical form, and I mean you have to work at it, and
Yeah.
it's something. I know for me it's hard in my own stuff, but it's something that is the most rewarding if you do the work.
Yeah. One of the things that you can do to start kind of helping those conversations is like not to have the conversation in the heat of the moment.
Mm.
You know, not when you're feeling frustrated, not when you're upset
Or just rejected.
angry.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then
Why don't you ever? Yeah.
yeah. And also like use the type of language that it's like, oh, I feel really connected to you when I feel, you know, because that way it's like like if I was to come to you and be like, oh, I felt really connected to you when I heard this,
Mm.
it's
That's
like
good.
immediately
Great language, yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh, I love that,
Yeah.
because you want me to feel connected to you,
Mhm.
because I mean, I'm gonna assume the male brain right now.
Okay.
And you can tell me if I'm wrong. But when I say, "Oh, I really feel connected to you," like you're like, "Ooh. Yeah."
Well,
Oh, baby.
Yeah. I can see how you could get there. Yeah. But yeah, and in some way, but it's also context, right? It's also we're talking about sex, you say connected, I think sex, right? Right. But
Or I feel close to you,
Yeah.
or I feel really connected to you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I give you the eyes.
Oh, well, that's different. Yeah, that's an automatic win. No, absolutely.
That's so funny. Okay, so now we're talking about it. We've gotten the awkward conversations out of
Yep.
the way. We're kind of having more of those conversations. So now we're kind of going to get into like the little bit more of like the practical part. And like this is kind of where we're really going to land the plane, because I think that there's always a lot of conversations about what is allowed and what's not allowed in the bedroom,
Yep.
especially in the Christian community.
That's true. Yep.
And again, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back to the beginning, and we're going to say, are these things helping you to get closer to your spouse, or are they creating a distance or a substitution for your spouse? So when we're talking about, you know, tools, toys, fantasies, even like the naughty novels, like those types of things, when we're talking about those types of things, we have to be asking ourselves through the filter of, is this creating connection, or is this creating distance,
Yep.
or is this substituting my partner?
Yeah.
And so, you know, like instead of asking like, is this allowed? Maybe ask the question, is this helping us to grow closer or creating that distance? So
And that's definitely the position you need to come from, because just because let's say you use one of those things, fantasy, you know, tools, toys, anything like that, and let's say you have a magical sexual experience. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that that was a healthy thing for you in long term. Now,
Right.
maybe because you got excited because it was spicy, was new, was, oh my gosh. But was it new because was it the thing that made it that way, or was it that great connection that you just had with your spouse? Oftentimes it's the new shiny thing that you brought into the bedroom
Right.
that then made the physical thing good, which is great, but it's a very difficult thing to walk through.
Yes. So let's just use kind of like the example of like the naughty novels, right? So what we're going to be asking ourselves is this enhancing our connection, or is this creating unrealistic expectations? Because I think a lot of the times when we're reading something or when we're having like this fantasy, again, we're putting potentially unrealistic expectations
Yeah.
now on our spouse and what our bedroom like life should look like.
Yep.
And, you know, again, asking, is this pulling me closer or is this pulling me away? So we always have to be asking ourselves the questions like, is this helping me to pursue my spouse? Or is this replacing real intimacy? Real intimacy, it takes work. It takes effort.
Yeah.
And if we're always using a spicy novel to kind of get us in the mood or get us into that position of like wanting or desiring sex, we have to be asking ourselves what is lacking as far as like that intimacy component within our relationship.
When our expectations are created off of something that isn't real, it always, and I'm going to use the always, will always affect your marriage.
Yeah.
Always. It's
Yeah.
going to. And again, I get the draw to the physical wonder of it because it seemed like it helped. Yes, it may have helped the physical part, but your connection may have been fractured. And what happens is the physical part is, I'll be honest, the physical part has a big draw because because you just automatically go, well, that's good then. That since it was good, right? You liked it, I liked it, good. Not realizing that there's an undercurrent of something that could begin to start taking you somewhere where you don't want to go.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very critical to be asking the right questions when you bring something into the bedroom.
We need to really be minding our mind.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So is this something that is helpful and beneficial is always the right question to be asking. It's not, is this right or is this wrong? It's is this beneficial for us? And so again, it's having the conversation. Like I don't do things within the bedroom that like I haven't asked you.
Totally.
And so we're always having these conversations to where it's like those things, I don't want to be putting something in our bedroom or even in my mind that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And so, because then that feels as though it's like I have a hidden sexual life or a hidden sexual fantasy that you're not part of. And I know it doesn't honor you.
Right.
And so it's like having more conversations about sex is always helpful. So, toys in the bedroom. So there's places where toys can be helpful. But again,
from our opinion.
Yes.
From our opinion.
Well, I'm going to finish that sentence because, or are they becoming a substitute for connection?
Yeah.
So is that toy or whatever we're bringing in, is that an actual substitute now for you? And am I having my own personal experience without that connection?
Yeah. And those are, again, we go back to having the conversation. Is this okay? Are we okay with this? But then asking yourself, wait, is this drawing me away? Is this a replacement? Again, just because the climax was the most amazing in the last 3 years of your guys' relationship doesn't mean that the actual sex is better.
Right.
Just because it felt great in that moment.
Yep.
What if you now get so used to the substitute that what you're really desiring in your sexual encounter is the feeling that that thing gave you, not the connection I'm going to have with my spouse.
Right.
That gets scary
Because there is always that emotional connection that's happening.
every time.
And I will also say that it's like there is also like a whole other avenue of where, you know, for women, it's harder for women to orgasm. And so it's like if you are in a sexual relationship that you're not orgasming, like that can also put a whole other thing into this situation.
And for me as a spouse of someone, if I was a spouse of someone who couldn't reach climax, I would want to do everything I could to make sure that they could.
Yes.
So we're not positioning anything being out of the question or wrong. What we're saying is, as you approach these things that aren't natural in the bedroom, you need to be approaching it with caution and with the right questions, so that you're not drifting away from each other, but it's actually drawing you to each other.
Yes. So mutual comfort matters.
Yeah,
so we have to feel comfortable about anything that's brought in. Open conversations matter. And agreement matters.
Yeah.
So just because we're having a conversation about it doesn't mean that it's like we're both in agreement of it. There may be something that you want to do in the bedroom that I don't feel comfortable with. If someone doesn't feel comfortable with it, the answer is no.
Yeah, it's a hard no.
Or there's talking about a compromise, but both people have to feel comfortable.
Yep.
Like we cannot make the marriage bed a source of now division within the marriage.
Yep. That would fracture a relationship altogether.
I think we kind of talked a little bit about this, but also like fantasy. So where is the line between like imagination and emotional disconnection? So again, it's like what we're doing is we're asking the question like, does this meet like real life expectations?
Yeah.
Like is this like pulling me towards you, or am I just kind of like in La La Land?
You know what makes me sad? Just as we're sitting here thinking, not that it occurred to me, but I just got this. I got this wave of weight of. It's just so countercultural. It is a fight to have a healthy sexual relationship with your spouse.
Yeah.
Because all of these things that we're talking about,
they're normalized.
Like do that. Get yours. It is a hard road to want and accomplish doing it well for your relationship that honors both of you, that fulfills both of you. And if you come from faith, to honor God in the midst. And, it's created by God. It's intended for our enjoyment and for the, family production and, everything like that. But I just, man, this is really going against the grain. You really are, because if you hear it a certain way, you're like, well, then what? I'm just supposed to deal with, the a boring sex life? No,
it can actually be really fun.
Yeah, it can actually be great. The problem is that I'll speak for myself. You don't want to go into the nitty gritty and actually work on what's making it not that great. We just want to do the quick fix and do it quick. And it's like, oh, hey, that felt great. So this is the right way, and then all of a sudden you're down and, I mean, we haven't even, I don't know if porn's on your list, but I know people have used porn to excite and get going. And then, but that is just bringing.
Well, now you have images in your head
Yep.
that are forever implanted and can replay. And we're not even actually bringing in like the whole like enemy component to a lot of these things, because the enemy doesn't like sex because it's God ordained. God said it was good. And so it's like he's always wanting to cause division and wreak havoc in any area that he can. And so if he can get anyone,
he doesn't like sex God's way. He likes sex his way. And sex his way is exactly the culture that we're living in.
Exactly.
And that's why it's such a powerful tool. I mean, it'll grip you. I mean, it is the reality. And trying to do it well is doing it well is one of the most fulfilling things you can have with your partner. One of the greatest multipliers in your life can be a healthy, sustained sex life, and it is achievable because God wants it. God wants it for you like that. And so it's just us being open and being okay with walking in contradiction to what the culture says.
Yeah. And in order to do that, you have to stop comparing yourself to someone else, and you have to start getting open and real and raw with your spouse and having those conversations. And again, it goes against it because it's like, it is all about, you getting yours. And really it's like what a healthy marriage relationship should be is, how do we get ours?
Yes.
And so it's like building that intimacy, because it's like marriage was designed for unity, not division. And so it's like, so what is helping us to create that connection?
Yes.
And I'm saying that it's like, you don't have to be like all about just the missionary and not enjoying and not finding any fulfillment or any satisfaction within sex.
True.
In order to have a healthy sex life.
Correct.
That honors your spouse and honors God. That's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
Like there are some of these things that it's like you could bring into the bedroom if you're both in agreement and if you're both feeling like this is honoring. But again, it's like having those open conversations and protecting your marriage.
Yeah.
So
marriage comes first.
What is honoring?
Yep.
What is good? And how can we do those things to set us up for success?
The connection. Driving you to connection. It was never meant to be driven by pressure, control, obligation. It was all. Oh, hi, Louie. It was all. It's all about mutual care and connection. If the things you're talking about aren't driving you to that conclusion, then it's not the right pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. Not everything is harmful, but not everything is helpful either.
Oh, yeah.
So, we just have to remember that it's like the goal in marriage isn't just about better sex. It's about deeper connection. And the healthiest intimacy is the kind that draws you closer, not pulls you apart.
That's absolutely spot on. Nobody gets this perfect. That's not what this is about.
Nope.
It's not about getting it perfect. What it's about growth. You can grow because as much as our lives have different seasons of marriage, those seasons of your sexual season is the same thing. It goes in different seasons, and sticking with it and working at it is the best thing that's going to draw you closer, which is going to give you a better sex life anyway.
Totally. So just stay open, stay curious, and also know that it's like whatever season, like there could be another season coming up because we've gone through many different iterations of our sexual life, and they're all good.
The one thing that will guarantee the success of both your marriage and your sex life. You ready for this?
Yes.
Just keep showing up.
There
Keep choosing each other. Keep showing up. Keep doing the things.
Yep.
You got a pretty good chance of making it work.
I love it. All right, friends. Well, that's all for this episode. And we're excited because we have a lot of really great things coming up. We have a marriage conference coming up at the end of May.
Woohoo.
And so if you want more details and if you're local in the San Diego area and you want to come check that out, make sure to DM us on social media and we'll get you all those fun details. And you know what? Just keep on showing up and, follow us on social media, DM us, tag us in your date nights.
Yes.
Do all the things that it's like are putting your marriage at the forefront of your mind. So we love you guys. We're so grateful for every listen, every like, every share. And we will see you again next week.
Go have some good sex.
Oh.
See you next time.